Hi, this is Jaden. I wanted to do this video because I wanted to just talk about some of the stuff that I've played and am playing right now so far in 2026. And originally, um, I was gonna do like monthly videos for each month, basically saying what I beat for um, those days. But I ended up kind of going back on that a little bit because one, um, last month I didn't really beat a lot, so even though I could make like a video just talking about those games, I don't know, I just wasn't as in the mood for it anymore. So I figured I'd just make this like video just talking about what I played and what I'm playing right now and just kind of bunch it all together. I don't know if like I'll try doing something like that in later months, or I don't know what I'll do, but basically I just want an excuse to talk about what I've been playing. So for 2026 so far, with only one full month in and a couple days into February, I've beaten three games, which for me it isn't actually like as much as I normally would beat because I'm pretty sure last year in January I think I beat like six games in January, so it's definitely a little bit lower for me, but I haven't really been like too worried about just trying to like finish as many games. I've just been kind of just taking them for as they've come. So anyway, the first game that I wanted to talk about, first game I beat of the year was I actually have a cartridge of it right here, the original Final Fantasy for the NES, and this was apparently Kim's copy because I bought this secondhand. So thank you, Kim, for your copy of this game. And I played it on not an original NES because I actually don't own an original NES, but I played it on a Retron. I don't know which version of the Retron it is, but it's basically like it's like a third party kind of system that plays old NES games or whatever. So I played it on that, and I played it on the CRT. And let me just say, first of all, fucking playing it on the CRT, oh my god, it was perfect. Because it's not as like smooth, it's not like the resolution's not obviously the greatest, but it's perfect for those old NES games because it's not all crystal clear and you can't see all the different pixels. It is blurry, but like it works well with how those games were made back then. They don't a lot of the pixels kind of blend together and they don't look as much like pixels. They kind of just look like little drawings on the screen, and it really works really well. It's half of why I was happy that I got to play it through the CRT, through the Retron, than I am just emulating it. Because I think the first time I did try playing the original Final Fantasy for NES, I did like emulate it, and then I stopped playing it after like an hour or two, because it is definitely an older game. Like this is a very old feeling game, and you feel it especially when you play it, and obviously when you look at it, because I mean the graphics, it's fucking they age as well as any NES game can. But the gameplay definitely does feel pretty like dated in a lot of ways, especially when you compare it to the new Final Fantasies. But anyway, so me and a friend, who's probably watching this right now because he's one of like the main people who I show these videos to, or he'll get recommended them. But anyway, me and him were we've kind of been on like a Final Fantasy binge as of late, where we've just we've just been playing like as many of the different games as we can. Fucking in our whenever we talk, we bring up Final Fantasy and shit. Whether mainly seven because like that's the one we both connect on, and we'll talk about like some of the ones that me and him have played that the other haven't played. Like I've played like some of the older turn-based ones like 9 and 10 and all that shit, and he's played some of the newer ones like 13 and 16 that I haven't really played yet, even though I do want to get to 16 at some point because I am actually going to a Distant Worlds concert in March next month in Philadelphia, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a really good time. I've never really gone to like a actually, I don't. I think I said concert there. I meant to say symphony instead of like a concert because it is more like styled like classical music rather than like a full blown like you go to like a Chris Brown concert or something like that. But It's the first time I've ever been to, or I will be going to something like that. So I'm really excited about that. And that concert or symphony, is going to have a lot of music from, I believe, Final Fantasy 14 and 16. So I definitely need to get to beating 16. That, and also it's one of my friends' uh, favorite games. But anyway, I digress. I'm kind of getting sidetracked. But anyway, yeah, we've been playing like as many Final Fantasy games as we can, and I have played a decent bit of them too. I believe the ones I've played now, including the first one, I've beaten, in terms of the mainline ones, I've beaten 1, 6, 7, 9, 10, um, and 15. And then I played some of the 7 spin offs and the remakes, like Remake, Rebirth, Crisis Core, all that shit. There's still a lot I want to try playing, but that's what I played so far. So for the first Final Fantasy game for the NES, I was playing the NES version of it, and the reason I actually started playing it again was because my friend, he was playing the PS1 version of the game via the Final Fantasy Origins collection on PS1, and he was playing that backwards compatible on the PS2. And he was giving it a shot because a couple of his other friends were playing the original Final Fantasy, and so he was just hopping in alongside them. And then I heard that he was playing it, and I was like, yeah, fuck it, maybe this is the time I'll try to actually go back into it and give it another shot. Because I wanted to, too, especially because I feel like the game did have its charm, even though it was, like, outdated. And keep in mind, I haven't really beaten a lot of NES games. Like, I'm pretty sure the only NES games I've beaten are the original Mario Bros. Trilogy, all 3 of those games, Ninja Gaiden, Castlevania, and Contra. I might be missing one, or maybe that's all of them, I forget. But those are the only NES games I've beaten. And so I was kind of skeptical going into Final Fantasy because I didn't know if I would finish it, especially with it being like an old RPG and they're like kind of notoriously like difficult, or they don't really tell you where to go. So when playing this, I actually used a guide when going through this game, and I didn't really feel too bad about it, even though like I have seen people say they're like, oh, this is compared to most other older games, like this one you probably don't need a guide because it is a bit more lenient in telling you like, hey, go do this, or hey, listen to these riddles and you'll figure out these certain clues. But I didn't really feel too guilty about it. I didn't feel too guilty about it because, you know, I ended up having way more fun using a guide than if I had not, because it kind of felt like its own little treasure map, and I was able to get like some of the better equipment and swords in the game, and get my party members leveled up and use some of like the good grinding spots, like the Peninsula of Power and the one farming spot with the eye enemy. That was definitely when I sat there for like a couple hours just grinding through levels. But overall, I think the original game made me both like kind of really frustrated at parts, and also kept me going at other parts, because there was a lot of times where like the game would be like really really fucking slow, and I didn't realize until after I beat the game that at the fucking start of the screen there is like a way, I think, of making the battle text speed like faster, and I was fucking really so happy about that, finding that out after I beat the game. So that was fucking funny. But yeah, so for the majority of the game, it was really slow. But even still, like, I still had fun with it at parts. Even the parts where, like, they were still frustrating. I still wanted to get through and, like, see the next thing because I was so determined to beat the game. And because of that, I think the game ended up being way more fun for me than I thought it would be. And I ended up having a good time with it. Obviously, the story is very, very basic at the end of the day. Fucking 4 warriors of light, and you're trying to get all these crystals and all that, and then you go back in time at the end of the game. You beat Garland or Chaos and all that shit. But no, it was a good time. My class setup, I chose fighter, monk, black mage, and white mage. You know, and that setup pretty much worked for me. Because fighter does most of the big boy damage, and then once the monk levels up, you don't even really need to give him any weapons because he just does better with his fists. And then black mage obviously has the spells, and white mage, mainly for healing and other kind of support shit. Um, that's another thing as well with the original Final Fantasy, the spell charge system, because this was before the Final Fantasy series would eventually use the MP system, which is way fucking better and way more like forgiving. The spell charge system basically makes so you have a limited number of uses or charges that you can use, like specific levels of spells, and after that you basically just need to um, you need to go back to like a clinic and heal yourself up, or go back to like an inn and like get those back. I forget exactly which way it was, but yeah, the spell charge system was really annoying. Because you really did have to conserve that shit. It did kind of make it more strategic because you couldn't just go around just spamming spells. Like I would say you can in later games, like in Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VII. You can like, even though people love those games and I like those games too, you can like infinitely kind of use spells if you really wanted to. So it does kind of take away a lot of the challenge. So I will say the original Final Fantasy does kind of make so you have to be more strategic about that shit. Otherwise, you're just gonna die and you're just gonna lose all your big boy spells, and you can't use them for bosses. So that is kind of nice in that way. It does make it feel different at least, but it definitely had moments of being frustrating for me, especially. Um, but other than that, like I said, like I think it's definitely worth going back to, even if you don't end up like beating the game. There is a lot of like differences and similarities to what you see in the newer games. It does suck having to like specifically go back to towns. If like your party members die, which can be kind of annoying because there was no such thing as like Phoenix Downs or whatever in this game, I believe. And that was there's a lot of jank like that, a lot of times like that where it's like, ugh, and you're just kind of left going back to towns and all that shit. I will say though, but because like the enemy encounters in this are pretty like, you get into battles like pretty frequently, especially in dungeons, to the point where like when you're trying to go back to a town or trying to go to a specific place, it can be pretty grueling. But I think that's exactly why when I got like the boat and especially the airship, it was really fucking satisfying. Like when I got that airship for the first time, I felt fucking invincible because of how um, like limited you are with moving from town to town. So when you get that airship and you can just go fucking anywhere, for the most part, and just get there really fast, it felt really fucking satisfying. It was definitely like actual progression I could feel. So that was a fun time. The music definitely has a lot of like, a lot of the original songs you hear that are kind of like chip tuned. Like the original main theme of Final Fantasy. You have the prelude. You have a different rendition of the fucking battle music, which all the songs are pretty catchy too. You got all the town themes feeling really soft and like kind of melancholy. So there's a lot of there's a lot of uniqueness to it. And to be honest, even though like I definitely could see myself trying it again for sure, like playing through this game again. I would definitely have to use another guide because, you know, I definitely wouldn't play this game without a guide. And to be honest, I think if I was stubborn and I went into it playing without a guide, I probably would have had a lot less fun with it. So maybe there is something to be said about that, where a lot of these games are about like the exploration and shit, kind of like what people's thoughts are with like Zelda or like different open world games. But for me, it worked better with the guide too. And it was just fun kind of playing alongside my friend who was playing the PS1 version because of the different similarities, because they change a lot in like the updated versions of this game, with the Origins version, the PSP remake, and the Pixel remaster. So it was really fun, like seeing the differences between each other. And we both had moments too where we would both be fucking like just angry at like fighting something, and we would just be like screaming or just fucking complaining in like a Discord call or a Snapchat call. It was some fun moments, and a lot of nights just grinding out levels. Because I think I ended up beating I don't know why I was thinking 15, the original Final Fantasy, like in a weekend, because I think I had like a free weekend where I didn't have work or anything, and so I just did that, and that's basically that was basically what I did with that time. Oh, my phone's gonna die. I should charge this quick. Okay, there we go. Just had to charge my phone real quick, make sure that didn't die. I would have been pissed if I had lost that recording. Um, but yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the original Final Fantasy. I definitely enjoyed it, even if I had some like problems with it and it was kind of frustrating at parts. I think overall, I definitely had a good time playing it, and seeing that final like end screen after beating Chaos was really fucking satisfying. So that definitely was a game I definitely won't forget anytime soon. The next game I beat so far was the original Fatal Frame for the PS2, and it's more of like a this is more of a obscure series for a lot of people. You know, especially with people who only really play like a lot of mainstream stuff. Um, but Fatal Frame, it's an old PS2 like horror game basically, and the premise of the game is you play as this young girl who's basically looking for her missing brother in this like fucking like giant like Japanese styled like mansion, and there's like it's like haunted and there's a lot of ghosts inside, and basically the way you fight the ghosts is by taking pictures of them with your camera, and it's actually like really unique way. It was really unique system for combat because it kind of did feel like a first person shooter in some ways where I'm just like fucking taking pictures of ghosts and all that shit, but there's like a lot of strategy to it because you know you have to like make sure that the beat like the fucking the gauge is like filled up, and then you fucking shoot and all that shit. There's a lot of um, like subtlety to the gameplay, but it is pretty complex. Um, this was always a series that I'd wanted to try, especially because I love just going back and playing a lot of old horror games. I think a lot of older horror games from the like late 90s, early 2000s have like a lot of charm to them, and I feel like they have a lot more atmosphere than a lot of horror games. Like mainstream horror games do now. Not a lot of indie horror games. Indie horror games still have that like vibe to them, but a lot of mainstream horror games have kind of like moved away from that like just being horror because you know horror is kind of like a niche thing. But this was back then like they were just trying a bunch of like random kind of techniques and random shit with different genres. So with Fatal Frame, I think for me, I really loved exploring the mansion. In a lot of ways, it felt like just playing Luigi's Mansion because that's what I grew up playing when I was younger was Luigi's Mansion, and that was kind of like the what's got me into like shit like Resident Evil and this where you're just kind of exploring this like big place. There's a lot of like locked rooms. You come back later on with that shit, you know. So it did kind of give like a nostalgic factor for me, exploring the giant like fucking feudal Japan kind of mansion. Um, and obviously like the atmosphere of the game is really good. You know, there's not a lot of like music, really, but like a lot of like the sounds and the sound design in it was really good. A lot of like the sounds that you hear from like these souls of the damned and like whether it's the wind or something like that, it really does set the mood, which is very important for a horror game, obviously, if you've played like a lot of different ones. So, but similar to Final Fantasy 2, while I definitely appreciate a lot of shit about it, I did still have some annoying parts with it. Definitely with Fatal Frame, even more so than the Final Fantasy one. Because for Fatal Frame, and this was also my own fault too, because like I was saying, in this game, you take pictures of ghosts, and that's basically how you like damage them, attack them, and all that shit. Um, so I played it on an emulator. We don't talk about that, okay? But I did play it on an emulator because original copies for the original Fatal Frame go for like fucking oh my god. If you look on eBay, they go for like hundreds of dollars. It's almost as bad as the fucking Silent Hill games. Um, so obviously I was sad by that because I wanted to play it on the CRT because especially with like the lower resolution, it would have made the game even more scarier. But you know, I didn't really have that kind of money to blow on a game that I didn't even know if I was gonna like. You know, compared to the Silent Hill games, where like even though I have spent like hundreds of dollars to get the original like three Silent Hill games, um, the thing is I'd already played those and already beat them before I bought them because I played those via emulation too. So when I bought them again, even though they were expensive, it was like, okay, I know I like these. So I don't really mind spending that much because I love video games. But for Fatal Frame, obviously, I didn't really. I was cautious about doing that because I hadn't played Fatal Frame yet. And I didn't want to spend that much if I wasn't going to like the game or I didn't already have an affection towards it. So, anyway, I played it on an emulator. I played it on PCSX or whatever it's called. The PS2 emulator, you know what it is. And basically, I didn't realize it when I played it, but in that version, basically, the ghosts um, didn't have like the ghosts were pretty much invisible. Like they had a little like whirly effect to kind of like show you where they were, but for the most part they were invisible. And I was like, "Oh, okay." I didn't think anything of it because, ghosts. But then I'd say through like three-fourths of the game or pretty close to the end, I found out that in the PS2 emulator that I was using, there was a bug for the Fatal Frame ROM, which basically made the ghosts practically invisible. And because apparently they're supposed to have like an actual silhouette to them, you're meant to actually see the ghosts. And I couldn't see the ghosts because I was using the emulator that had that bug. And I didn't think anything of it because they're fucking ghosts. So I didn't think you were meant to see them. So I thought the little whirly kind of whooshing like effect, that was all it was. I just had to do it like that. But so because of that, okay, I'm back. Sorry, I have no clue what happened out there for a minute. But where was I talking about? Oh yeah, basically. So the game for me was a lot like harder. Like it was actually really hard because of me not realizing that about that fucking glitch. Like granted, it did take me a minute to like it took me a minute to like learn the game anyway because like I did die a decent bit there at the start and even later on too because I wasn't used to like how the game's mechanics were and also like moving while you're taking shots like that is kind of cumbersome with how those old controls work. But anyway, the point was it was really hard for me pretty much throughout the whole game. So that's why it was kind of frustrating for me at a lot of points, and especially because healing in that game is really limited, you know, because pretty much they don't respawn healing items again until like the next night because it works on like a night based system. And the third fucking night is like stupidly hard for some reason and has like a lot of ghosts, and I don't know why because it kind of like falls back down after that. So that was kind of weird. Um, but yeah, I mean, okay, so when I did figure out that there was a bug, obviously, I did a couple fixes and basically, like, now I could see the ghosts again. Like, now I could actually see the ghosts. I could see their silhouettes. And I'm not going to say it necessarily made the game, like, stupidly easier because it didn't. It was still pretty fucking hard, even after I did that fix. Fucking, there was a moment where me and my friend that I was playing Final Fantasy with, um, he would watch me fight this fucking ghost, and I just could not, for the fucking life of him, finish him. I think I died to him like 10 fucking plus times in a row while my friend had to just sit there and watch me bitch and moan about it. Oh my god. It was funny looking back on it now, and it was funny at the time too, but god, it was so fucking stupid. It was bad. It was like one of the monks, I think, or because I don't think it was the priests, but I don't think it was the monks either. One of like the bigger ghost enemies in that game. God, it was so annoying, and I needed to go past him in order to get to like the room I needed to go to. But yeah, so when I did figure out that there was a bug, and obviously I changed that, it didn't make the game stupidly easier. It was still hard, but I could see the ghosts now, so it was way easier to track them and like fill up the gauge and like realize when they were about to do their stupid attacks. So honestly, I felt like my kind of experience with the game was kind of like messed up because of the fact that through most of the game I didn't even see the ghosts, and like I feel like it would have made it a bit easier. Um, but I have heard like from a lot of Fatal Frame fans that like the first game is kind of like the most difficult, especially compared to like two and three, where two is the fan favorite. Two is the one I really wanted to play, and so obviously I went back to play the first one so that I could play the second one because the stories were connected. So that's another thing I'm excited for. I'm excited to actually start playing Fatal Frame 2. I heard that they are remaking the original Fatal Frame 2, And I was kind of torn between playing that one or the original, but I'm probably gonna go back and play the original because I'm a purist like that. So yeah, I think I hope at some point I can end up getting a copy of the original Fatal Frame for PS2, even though, like I said, this is expensive. But now that I played the game, and even though, like I said, it was hard as shit and there was a lot of frustrating moments with it, I still really ended up liking it because of the atmosphere. You know, the story is kind of interesting. There's a lot of just fucking creepy ass vibes. And I feel like if I played it again, I'd probably be able to understand, you know, the combat and like realizing don't fucking use all your healing items because there's only a limited number of those. And there was like a thing apparently where you can refill like your film that you use for your camera at like the save stations. I didn't know anything about that. Well, I think I did hear about it, but I didn't actually know how to like use it because I'm retarded. So, so yeah, I think when I get the game again, when I actually get like a physical copy of it, I'll definitely try it on the CRT and give it another shot for sure. Um, but yeah, like I said, I'm excited to go into Fatal Frame 2. I haven't started it up yet because I just wanted to wait until I was in the exact like right mood to play it. And I'm playing something right now. Like I'm playing a game right now that I've been playing for like the last like week or two that I haven't really wanted to put down that I'll talk about here in a bit. So that's another reason I'll probably wait until after I beat that game that I'll talk about, and then I'll play Fatal Frame 2. So yeah, Fatal Frame, another very interesting game. Very frustrating at times, but overall, like I look back on it pretty fondly and with a lot of fucking humor because I'm stupid as shit. Anyway, the third and final game that I've beat so far of the year was the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. Now, I have played the original Legend of Zelda for the NES like a couple times, and I actually don't have an actual cartridge of it, so I didn't play it on my Retron like I did Final Fantasy. I played it on NSO via like the Nintendo Classics games that they give you, and I played it on there. And I played it before, like sometime last year I think, or maybe the year before that I forget. But I got up to like the fifth or sixth dungeon. I want to say fifth, maybe. I got up to like that dungeon and I just kind of stopped, because you know it is like that. That is an older game too, and you know it was that also very frustrating. Um, but I decided to go back into it because I was joking with my dad about how because like he also likes games too and he grew up playing a lot of different games. So that was like beating the original Final Fantasy was kind of like a joke thing, even though like he knows like I'm a gamer and that I played all this older shit. Um, so I made it a joke about like actually going through and like finishing it. So I did on NSO, and I did use a guide as well for that because NES game. I don't it because some people I saw some people on like Reddit and shit and like some of the different videos that I was looking saying like, oh, you probably don't even need a guide, you know, you could draw one out and shit. And I actually did debate on drawing one out because I was like, oh, that could actually be pretty fun. But I've seen some of like in using guides for this game, I've seen how fucking convoluted and cryptic some of this shit is. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I never would have fucking guessed. I would never would have got through this game if I hadn't used a guide. Like you have to bomb certain walls and shit that there's like no indication that you're able to do that. So you just have to sit there and do it and waste bombs or whatever if you didn't have a guide. And you have to like burn certain bushes and shit. And there's like different like riddles and shit. Like some of them are kind of weird and like don't really make much sense. But so yeah, I don't really feel bad at all like Final Fantasy for Legend of Zelda using a guide. But while using a guide, I will say it was fun because it felt like I was using like a treasure map and I was kind of just following along the path to find the specific thing I was trying to get. Um, and the original Zelda, it's fun. It has its fun moments, you know. You know, especially when you're upgrading shit, you're getting more heart containers and getting better like bracelets for your armor and getting like the magic sword and then the fucking all that. But it is not a game I think that anyone really needs to go back and play to appreciate the newer shit because, you know, fucking, even more so than Final Fantasy in a lot of ways. Like, the original Zelda, is also kind of even more dated, um, in my opinion, personally. So it's definitely one I would recommend trying, but you're not really missing out on anything by skipping the original game. And if you do decide to play it, definitely use a guide. I would not recommend trying playing this game without a guide, or you're just gonna have a pretty terrible time. Um, and I'm pretty confident in saying that, even though a lot of people who grew up with that game would probably say otherwise because obviously they didn't grow up with that shit. I would recommend um, using a guide to play the game. And you know that the original Zelda has a lot of the staples in the series too, like the music, like you still hear it to this day. You have Ganon, you have Zelda, you have the fucking different enemies like the Octoroks and the fucking um, like fucking Tektites and all that shit. So there's a lot of the staples that are there. Um, and it definitely you could see like the transition to like shit like A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and all that shit. Especially because I played Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time was the only Zelda game I beat. It's the only Zelda game I beat before I played the original one on NES. In Ocarina of Time, I used a guide for that too. I mean, fucking through most of this, it just sounds like I just cannot play games because pretty much for most of these games, it's just like, oh, he's used a guide. But for Ocarina of Time, I actually did try playing the majority of it without a guide, and then later on, when you get to like the fucking later parts of that game with like the different dungeons and shit, I was just like, okay, fuck it. Especially the Water Temple. Fuck the Water Temple. Um, but Ocarina was the first game I'd beat of the Zelda series, and while I still had my problems with it, very old game with it being like the first like game with like 3D controls of its style and like the Z targeting, it still had a lot of charm to it. The soundtrack of the game is fucking so good, Ocarina of Time. So it's definitely one I would probably try again for sure. But I bring that up because I don't really like the Zelda series, I don't think as much. I can never really get into the Zelda games, even though it's like one of the like premier video game franchises. I can never really get into the Zelda games. Um, like I played Ocarina, the original NES. I played Link to the Past. Tried Wind Waker. Tried fucking very little bit of Twilight Princess. But the only ones I beaten were the two I just mentioned, like the original NES and Ocarina. So that's what made it even more interesting, the game I'm playing right now, that I'm actually really fucking hooked into right now. And to be honest, every free second I get, I've been trying to play it, which has been Breath of the Wild, which is the game I'm playing right now. Um, and let me tell you, I'm pretty hooked into this game. Like, I did not think I was, because Breath of the Wild has been like a joke game for me for a minute there. It's kind of the same situation with Final Fantasy 15, where um, it's a game I've kept coming back to and just it's never really clicked and it's never tried. That's how it was with Final Fantasy 15 before I finally beat it. I went back to that so many fucking times, wanting to like it, wanting to beat it, and it just didn't hit. And then one time it finally hit. And that's how it was for Breath of the Wild too, where I bought Breath of the Wild like back when it originally came out for the Switch, because I was like way younger when the Switch came out and it was like one of the only games you could buy at that time. So I was like, fuck it. And so I bought it, and it didn't really hit me. Um, Even after I'd seen gameplay of it and I'd spend money to buy like an actual copy of it, it didn't really hit with me. Ended up selling it later on, and I would go back to it, like, like for the past couple of years, just wanting to get into it because it's Breath of the Wild. It's like one of the like greatest games of all time, like the like premier like changed open world games, like basically. But it didn't really hit. And then after beating the original Zelda, I randomly was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Because I was playing it on the Nintendo Switch 2, because I was lucky enough to even have a Switch 2. Um, but for the Switch 2, they made like an upgrade to it, which was like 60 FPS, improved resolutions, and all that. So I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I kind of just booting it up thinking I'd probably get bored of it like I did all the other times, and I just kept playing and kept playing, and it sunk its teeth into me. It really did, to the point where like I haven't even really been doing a lot of like the main shit until like just recently today. Um, because I've just been exploring like the fucking whole map and just getting all the side shit that no one told me to get because it was fun. Like just exploring and finding new shit was a fucking blast, you know? Going through all the shrines and getting the different like heart containers so that I could upgrade my health, getting these different swords. And I will say, at first when I played the game like all these couple times, I didn't really like this whole degradation system with like the weapons how they break so easily. But now on this playthrough of it, like I actually really appreciate it because it does give you, even though your weapons do break really easily, um, like it encourages you to like try different weapons and shit, and it feels like there's a lot of variety in the weapons and nothing really gets stale. And I really like that, you know, finding all these different like resources and like minerals and like foods to like cook new foods and all that shit. It's been really fun. Honestly, I'm so excited. I'm probably gonna play it like when I'm done with this, to be honest, um, because it's just really hooking me, and like it's a game that I don't ever feel like I don't really feel like I need to rush because I'm just having fun with it. Like there's no like need to just like, oh, let's just get through the main story, get to the end, and say I beat it, because I'm actually having a lot of fun with it, and it's stopped it from really getting stale for me because I've kind of alternated between playing it on like the big screen, just my regular like Roku TV, and playing it in the handheld mode. Um, and the Switch, I had a weird relationship with the first Switch because I think like I had a love hate relationship with it where I would have moments where I just did not care about it at all, and I kind of like didn't like the whole Joy-Con aspect, and then there's times where like I would like get really like sunk into it. But because of that, and especially with it being younger when I got my Switch, I didn't really play it on the TV as much. I mainly just played in handheld. Um, so playing the Switch 2 now that I'm older and I'm collecting games and all that shit, actually playing it on the TV, I was like, wow, this is actually kind of nice. It's so stupid. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is what I'm playing right now. I'm like not close to finishing it, I don't think at all, and I'm not really worried about like it too much because I'm just finding a bunch of new shit. You know, the whole like memory thing with like finding these like specific places, um, to like see these old memories of like Link and Zelda is like really cool. Um, fucking, and I don't know if Zelda games. I don't think any Zelda game before Breath of the Wild had voice acting. Maybe they did. I forget. But like with there being like voice acting in Zelda, too, it also is kind of like a whiplash because it's like, oh shit, like they actually have voices now, and some of these like different people, like the champions, and you know Zelda. Link still doesn't talk, which is kind of weird. You know, it's kind of like a Samus situation from Metroid, where it's like, why aren't you speaking? Um, but it's a really fun game. Honestly, I'm really excited to get back into it. Um, and just finish up more of it. Just play more of it. It's really good. I highly recommend if Breath of the Wild never really was your thing or it didn't really click with you, I really recommend just giving it another shot. Um, because like I was telling my friend the other night, like you can have moments with games where you've they might not click with you 1 second, but then in the next second when you play them, whether it's like months or a year or like a couple days, whether just if you're in a different mindset, a game can click with you if it didn't before. You know, I've seen a lot of people say like they didn't really understand like the Dark Souls games or the Souls series, and then they played like one of the games randomly with like a different mindset or just a random mindset where they weren't even thinking about it, and it finally clicked for them. So I definitely recommend giving Breath of the Wild a shot, and I'm kind of gushing about it because of like how like much like fun it has been for me. And keep in mind, this is as someone who's just gone back to it again and again, never really thinking it's any different. But just one time, like in the past couple weeks, it just clicked, and I'm starting to have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, definitely recommend getting Breath of the Wild. I want to I want to get my physical copy of it back because I sold that shit, and I'm very sad I sold that now because um, I just like having physical games of the games I love. So yeah, that's basically Breath of the Wild is like the only thing I've been playing recently. And then aside from the three games I beat that I just talked about, um, I don't really know what comes after for me right now, especially only being like not even 2 months fully into the year. I want to say I'll try. I'll probably give Fatal Frame 2 a shot after that, um, depending on what I'm feeling. But we'll see what happens after. The point is, I'm having a lot of fun right now with games so far this year, and I don't think it's gonna stop. I mean, fucking most of the time when I come back from work, I'll either be like too tired to really game, but like games are always on my mind. Always shit I love playing or watching shit on. Love talking to people about this stuff. I like whenever I hear someone just talk about games like in public, like my fucking eyebrows will like immediately peak up because I'm like, holy shit, there's someone who like knows games and wants to talk about it. Um, like fucking, this is unrelated, but it was one day at work, um, and one of my coworkers was randomly talking about games, and she was talking about how her brother had like an old DS game, and it was like a court game, and I was like, oh, I probably know what this game is. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, she's talking about Phoenix Wright. And I sounded so happy about it because I was like, oh shit, Phoenix Wright, I know that. I'm such a nerd over this shit. I fucking love this shit. I feel like a lot of people like, especially in public, don't really get to see like this like more like energetic and like fucking like nerdy or happy side of me because I think I don't really like express myself too well in front of other people or people who like strangers or people who I don't trust. So, you know, just having like this thing where like this is probably the part about me that I love the most about my because I am still learning to kind of like love a lot more of myself. But I think the thing about me that like I like love like the one part of me I could say I really love about myself is just that nerdy kind of like excited version of me who's just happy about talking about games and nerd shit like movies and all that. Oh man. But yeah, that's basically where I'm doing right now with games, and I'm excited to play more shit. So yeah, thank you for listening to me rant about video games and all this shit I love. So yeah, I'll see what I end up doing across the coming months about like um fucking like how I want to talk about the games I beat, or if I want to do a similar video at the end of the year like what I did with my top 2025 or like just my 2025 gaming experience video, which I am very proud of that. If you haven't seen that, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, anyway, I hope everyone has a good day, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.